Hey everyone and welcome back. So I'm doing sort of a wrap up of 2021. I was actually going to hold off on this because I've already actually recorded a video of me looking at some of the upcoming releases that we have this year that I'm super excited about, including a couple ones that I think we might actually be able to get in 2022. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I really just want to wrap up 2021 and I don't even want to think about it again. So I figured I'm actually going to just do that video first and then finish editing that one and then get that one uploaded. So 2021 was definitely a very weird year for me. Not that great of a year in many ways, but then in other couple ways, especially involving this channel, some of the stuff I've gotten, definitely a lot of great stuff. And that's what I want to concentrate in this video, is definitely some of the positive aspects, not on some of the more other aspects where I'm like, eh. So a few of my favorite collectibles that I've gotten this year, along with some of my favorite video releases that we've gotten. So before I get to that, I do actually want to just say real quick that definitely my favorite moment of the year at all over everything else was definitely when I was able to start going to conventions again, but specifically obviously going back for Flashback Weekend for a multitude of reasons. One, just the fact that it was so great to be at a convention, and especially I got to hang out with friends that I'd not seen in 2 years. So that was really special, and by far and away my favorite thing about 2021. It's the kind of thing where I when I look back on this year, definitely I think that's sort of the highlight that will stick out for me. And speaking of Flashback, not too long before Flashback, I did actually get my favorite piece of camera gear of the year, and that is indeed my 50mm Sony f1.2 G Master lens, and this thing is amazing. 50mm is definitely my favorite focal length, especially when it comes to portraits and things like that, or even doing interviews if I'm doing that as well. Absolutely love 50mm, and it's so when this lens came out, I definitely wanted to upgrade, and I'm glad I did, because actually going to the conventions, especially at Flashback, when I did all of my portrait shots, I was able to sort of break in this lens that way, and I got in several nice shots that I'm very happy to get, and this lens is just amazing. So definitely my favorite sort of camera gear thing from the year. But now let's get to some collectibles. So a few things that I've gotten this year. I mean, definitely the original list was pretty long, but I was like, okay, yeah, I actually really got a lot of stuff that I really love, but I definitely just want to highlight a couple things, including some movie memorabilia stuff. I don't buy it or seek it out as much as I used to, but then when you come across something special, you definitely have to jump at it. And for sure, one of those was definitely getting the original Evil Dead poster. I've wanted one of those for years, and when the opportunity presented itself to get one, especially at a reasonable price, I mean, it still costs a lot, but by and large, I did get it for a good price. And now I can finally say I do have an original Evil Dead poster in my poster collection. Speaking of movie collectibles, another thing that I got this year that was really awesome was I finally was able to get original lobby card set for Halloween 3. Now, I'm not really actively seeking out, lobby cards or things like that anymore, but, again, Halloween 3, one of my favorites, and it's God, to get the original lobby card set, I was like, man, I just had to go for it. Because again, Halloween 3 is one of those films where if I see something, there's a good chance I'm going to go for it. It's like Halloween 3, Creepshow, Dawn of the Dead. If I see something from pretty much some of those films, it's like, yeah, I'm going to grab it. And speaking of Halloween 3, another thing I got, which I absolutely love, because I do love the score so much, is that I did get the original CD release. Now, I actually do have the CD release from just a couple years ago, but I really wanted the first CD release, which came out maybe early 90s or something. I don't know, somewhere around there. I was finally able to get a copy of it, and I was also able to find the original LP album, which I think is even older than that. I don't know, did that come out? I have to double check. It may have come out actually around the time of the film, if not maybe just a few years later. I mean, I have a re-release of the Halloween 3 soundtrack on vinyl, but I definitely wanted the original one at some point. So I'm super happy to have finally gotten that. And getting back to actually movie memorabilia, I did get the Creepshow promo piece, which was put on display in movie theaters at the time to sort of obviously promote the upcoming release of Creepshow. And then something, it's it went either on the counter for the concession stand or in the ticket booth or something. It's not huge, but it's just so cool. I love the hand holding the tickets and everything. And again, those go for a lot of money. I mean, I was like, It cost a bit for me to get it, but I still managed to get it for like half of what I normally see it go for. That's something I definitely have been going over after for a few years, and the fact that I now finally have one, it's just like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And next up, I did get 2 busts this year. One of them actually no, both of them from Trick or Treat Studios, and one of them is their zombie bust, which some of you may remember when I had in the video. And that's, oh god, I was so happy to finally get one, and it is so much cooler than I thought it was even gonna be. It looks so incredible. It's definitely one that if you get the chance, like if you're a fan of zombie or even some of the other busts that they've done, but specifically the zombie one, like if you get a chance to get it, it is pricey, but I definitely highly recommend it. It is so awesome. And then the other one, which I had to go for when it went on that 50% off special for like 3 hours one day, and that is the Trick or Treat Studio Creepshow Fluffy Bust. Been wanting to get that since it came out for, god, like a year and a half ago or something, but I mean, it's expensive, and so when it went on sale for half off, I'm like, if I'm ever gonna get it, now's the time. And I'm so happy that I did. It's big. I still don't know where it's going to go. Like, I know what I want to do with it as far as the display goes and what I want to display with it. I just don't know where to set up that display. That's the only thing. But once I can figure out where that's going to go, I think it actually would be like a cool display to have. And then finally, the big one, which is, let's see, right back here, which is the my Snake Plissken statue, my 1/3 statue, which is very big. But considering we almost never get anything from Escape from New York, especially in that kind of, you know, collectible, it's like I had to go for it. Even though, again, yes, it was very pricey. It was almost the most, I think like the 3rd highest I've ever paid for a collectible. But again, it looks so cool. Absolutely love it. I mean, I had a couple nitpicks, which some of you remember when I did the sort of video on it. But overall, absolutely love having it, and it's going to look better, especially if I can line it up better. Thinking about moving my Escape from New York poster over so it's literally right above it, or I may leave that poster there, and I do have some smaller ones I could put behind. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure that out, but that'll definitely make that display like complete. I do have one other collectible that probably should be on this list, but because it's not set up yet, I'm going to actually hold off until it's actually set up. So I'm going to probably include that in I assume next year's, hopefully in a year from now. I'm not sitting there like, well, it's still going to go up 1 year, because it is supposed to be probably right behind me once it is fully set up. I haven't got it set up yet. It'll be the last thing that'll get set up in this room just because of its size. Not to tease, but you know. Anyway, so let's get to some of my favorite video releases of this year. So the first 2, I'm actually going to do ones that, well, one of them is almost perfect. It just needed a little bit more. And the other one is kind of an unnecessary release, but at the same time, I have to admit, I actually really do enjoy it. And actually, that one is going to make sense because it will go with the infamous collectible setup that will go somewhere behind me, and hopefully at some point this year. And actually, you know what? We'll just do that one first. So in what is probably a release that really wasn't needed, because it's just a re-release of some pre-existing other releases, but I have to admit, I do think it's actually kind of cool, and that is the Evil Dead Groovy collection, which has Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and the complete series of Ash vs. Evil Dead. So Evil Dead 1 and 2 does have the 4K. It also has the Blu-ray release, and obviously Ash vs. Evil Dead on Blu-ray. And it just opens up, and inside you sort of pull out. There's the inside arc. Let me just pull this out. And basically you just pull this out, and it looks like a book. It's actually not a book. It's just what houses the discs. And you know, kind of go through, and there's the front. And just, you know, there's the 4K discs and the Blu-ray discs, and then all the Ash vs. Evil Dead seasons right here. And then it finally has an extra bonus disc. And then just there's the last page there, and not really anything in the back. So technically this is sort of a pointless release, but I actually think it's really cool. And again, this thing is actually going to go perfectly with the setup that will hopefully be behind me soon, which is actually one of the main reasons why I wanted this too, because I was like, that would really actually go perfect with that. And I did get it on sale, so that helped too. And I don't think I included that in a pickups video, which is why I wanted to kind of show a little bit more of it. All right, so next up is the release that I felt was so close to being perfect, and that is the 4K release of John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, the only reason why I think this is so close is, now there's the obvious one where it's like, well, it doesn't have all the extras from the Scream Factory release or the Arrow release. Yeah, that's true. It's a Universal release. I wasn't expecting it to have all those extras, but it does have, I think, all the extras from the Universal release, including the great documentary that was done something like 20 years ago or something, which still holds up really good, and that's on here. And I felt that the transfer on this is amazing. The 4K transfer, it just looks incredible. It has a Dolby Atmos track, which I think sounds really, really good. Now, the only way that this is just shy of being perfect is because it doesn't include the original theatrical audio, which I kind of feel should be included. Like, every release of any movie anywhere should always have the original theatrical mixed track included on that release. That literally should be a must. I mean, the fact that, and this is a studio release, and the fact that it's not even on here, like, doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because, like, the other releases, I mean, they had the original theatrical mix, and some of them even had, like, the 70 millimeter 4.1 surround mix, which again would have been awesome if those were included on that. And like, because like I can look past the extras because of licensing and all that, but the fact that this does not have Universal's own theatrical mix is kind of like, really? Because if it wasn't for that, this literally in many ways would be just a perfect release. And usually, and again, you can usually get it at a really, really good price too. I mean, I still highly recommend it, but I'm just saying, almost perfect. All right, so now we get to the ones that I absolutely loved, that I do feel are pretty much close to perfect. Now again, these aren't the ones that I think are the best releases of the year. These are just a few of my favorites. And I wanted to get sort of a mixture of titles from some of the different companies as well. I'm not representing every company as much as I'd like to. Just want to kind of pick out a couple favorites. So first up from Blue Underground is their new 4K release of Maniac Cop 2. I thought, I kind of knew like this was actually going to look really good in 4K. And indeed it did. It looks so good and it sounded great. Ports over all the extras and also has a couple new ones, and this I highly recommend. And again, as I mentioned before, I think Maniac Cop 2 is actually one of the films, as much as I love the original Maniac Cop, I actually think Maniac Cop 2 is actually a better film. That's just my opinion. Next up, and this one may be a little bit controversial, is actually the Kino 4K release of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 version. Some people complain about some sort of compression issues or something. I didn't notice it when I watched it. I mean, I was kind of looking for it when I saw that there were issues. I didn't see it. To me, it looked great. It sounded great. It looks about as good as the film can look. I mean, it was filmed in the late 70s, and just the film stock that they used at the time. I mean, the films can kind of technically only look so good depending on the film stock that was used. But what's also cool is that it ports over actually a lot of the Scream Factory extras, if not all of them, and also some of the extras from the old MGM release. I mean, if there are issues here, either they're not bothering me or I just didn't notice them, because for me, I thought this was a fantastic release. Next up is one of the Vestron releases. So happy that line did not disappear and is still going, actually going really strong, and that is the release of The Wraith. This is one that is sort of long overdue. Definitely one that a lot of people, like myself, were kind of hoping they would release eventually, and it's just a fantastic release. It has a really nice HD transfer. It looks and sounds good. It's got a ton of extras. I mean, this is the kind of thing, and it's like, it doesn't even cost that much. I mean, I think I even paid like $12.99 for it. Very, very highly worth it. It's such a fun film too. So definitely my favorite Vestron release of the year. Next up, Severin actually I thought released a lot of really good titles this year, but one I definitely need to just sort of point out because I thought they kind of went a little above and beyond was their 4K release of Blood for Dracula. I mean, this is obviously one of the films, this and Flesh for Frankenstein, I was starting to feel like we were never going to get releases for those, and we finally did. Now, Flesh for Frankenstein for Vinegar Syndrome, obviously the 4K disc is getting a replacement, so I'm going to not include that, but otherwise I probably would have the two of them together. But definitely the 7 release of Blood for Dracula is a fantastic release. It's got an amazing transfer, it got a ton of extras, and it comes with a CD soundtrack. So some of their box sets that they've done are incredible, but for me, this one was just a little bit extra, and really, really happy about it. Though I do actually kind of want to mention their release of Retribution, which I actually did love as well. Sort of a very underrated film. The next two are ones that are sort of lesser known films, but they got really nice releases, and which makes me very, very happy. First one is from Scream Factory, and that is the release of John McNaughton's The Borrower. This is one that I've been wanting a video release of this for so long. Some people claim that it did sort of get released on DVD, which I didn't know. Otherwise, I'm sure I would have gotten it like a while back, but we finally got a Blu-ray release, and it's a nice release. The film actually looks really good, and I'm just happy that this one just did not disappear into obscurity. So if you've never seen it, I definitely highly recommend checking it out. It's a bit of a dark comedy, but it's got some really, really cool elements to it. And then the other one is from Arrow, and that is the film Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, another one I've been hoping to get a release for many, many years. And Arrow gave it one of their, deluxe releases, and they just knocked this out of the park. I mean, not only does the film look and sound better than it ever has, but it has like 3 different cuts of the film, a slew of extras, and again, it's, one of their like deluxe releases. Super happy with this one. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. This next one is actually sort of a combo release because I think depending on where you live, especially, you had really some great options to get both of these films, and that is indeed, if I can hold it up correctly, Demons and Demons 2. So this is the Arrow single releases, but there's also the Synapse release as well. And the fact that we got these films from both companies, so obviously 4K releases are region free, but so in the UK, Arrow put these out, and then obviously in the US, Synapse put them out. And in both cases, they are absolutely just phenomenal releases. Now, as far as Arrow goes, I do have the limited set, which is nice, but I actually thought they did a much better job with the single releases. Should I just pull them out real quick? I mean, they just have this outer box, which they don't usually do, and it just has the original artwork. And so I just thought they actually did a phenomenal job on the single releases. And then Synapse has the release in the US, and then the one thing that now each version obviously has its own set of extras, but one thing that the Synapse one does have that the Arrow one does that it does not is the fact that on Demons 2, the original audio mix on the Arrow set is mono, where the Synapse one has the original stereo theatrical mix, which is a cool thing and something to kind of just take into consideration. If you're a completist like me, obviously you have them both, but if you're trying to decide which one to get, at least 4K. Obviously, if you're looking at the Blu-rays, do take into account that the US one is region A, and obviously the UK one is region B. But still, super happy to have Demons and Demons 2 in 4K, and it's nice that we have so many options for them. And then finally, my favorite release of 2021 is probably going to come to no surprise to any of you, and I am sort of including it as one thing, even though they are technically separate releases, but that is indeed the first 5 Halloween films in 4K. I mean, the fact that we got them in 4K is enough to celebrate, but the fact that I kind of feel that Scream Factory did an absolutely amazing job. I just kind of want to mention real quick that first off, I love this harder outer box that they use. I really hope they do these more often for some of their releases. Obviously not all of them, but at least some of their special releases. Highly recommend this. I love this just slides out so easily. And the fact is, they easily could have just done a 4K release with just the movie and maybe like 1 or 2 extras, and that would have been it. I'm sure most of us would have been happy, but they also included not just the Blu-ray copy, but in some of these cases, for example, like the original Halloween film, it has like, 2 different Blu-ray copies. Like it includes kind of a lot of the stuff that was in the box set, the Halloween box set from a couple years ago. And of course, with Halloween 2, Halloween 4, 5. I mean, now the thing is, are they perfect? No, there are some minor nitpicks that you can kind of look at, but some of them are not actually Scream Factory's fault. I mean, I know there was audio issues with Halloween 4 and 5, but that's not Scream Factory. That goes back to something that happened like 20 years ago, where if I know the story correctly, Chase Audio, who did a remix of the audio for Halloween 4 and 5, I think for the Anchor Bay DVD way back when, actually lost the original soundtracks or the original audio tracks for those films. So you can't go back and like do a proper remix. You have to use kind of what they did. So that's kind of a shame, and hopefully the original audio tracks can be tracked down someday. But don't get me wrong, 4 and 5 still sound good. It's not bad. That's just there. And yes, Halloween 2 does have one frame where it does pixelate, even though I didn't notice it the first couple of times, but once I actually saw which frame it was, it was like, oh, okay, now I see it. Not something I'm going to pitchfork over and sort of go over to Screen Factory and yell that evil will die tonight, but it's just like, I do want to mention that. And in case any of you are wondering if I had left it out, no, I did not. I was just saving it for the last one, and that is indeed also the 4K release of Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which, as a lot of you know, is one of my favorites. And this is one I am super, super happy about because, honestly, I never thought I was ever going to see a 4K release of Halloween 3. And indeed, we do have one. It's right here. And to have such a phenomenal release, I mean, this is like just almost unbelievable. And the thing is, technically, out of the 5, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, like, this is also the one that also really doesn't have anything wrong with it. Like, the picture's perfect. The audio is perfect. They have all the audio options, all the extras. I mean, quite honestly, it's a perfect release. And indeed, it is. If I had to pick probably a favorite, personal favorite, I would probably go with this one because not only is it a perfect release from the video and audio and also all the extras, but again, from a personal standpoint, it also has a lot of meaning for me because, again, it is one of my favorites. So if I technically had to pick a favorite release of 2021, I would go with 4K release of Halloween 3. So that's it. That wraps up all of my, not all, but, you know, at least some of my favorite things. I mean, obviously there were a couple, I mean, I wish there were so many more releases I would have included because originally I was going to do, I think, one from like each label and things like that. And also, to be fair, there are several more that very well would have made this list, but honestly, there's quite a few I have not gotten to yet that I'm still trying to make my way through my own wash pile. Doing okay though. I'm actually making some headway there, but it's still a very big unwatched pile. But overall for 2021, definitely a lot of really good releases, a lot of very, very cool collectibles. And those are the positive things I definitely want to take away from 2021. So definitely let me know some of your favorites. And now we can sort of put 2021 behind us and look ahead to 2022, which there's definitely a lot of good stuff coming already, despite the fact I'm sure my wallet's going to be like, no, no. But indeed, yes, yes. So here's looking ahead to the new year. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.